Thank you so much, Rafael. It's a pleasure to be here, and thanks to ECPM to organize this and for cooperating with us in publication of this report. Soon it will be, I think it's 12 years now. So what our annual report shows is a dramatic increase in the number of executions, 75% increase. 582 people at least have been executed. And we fear that this number in 2023 will be much higher if the political cost of these executions do not increase. So this is what we want. We want the international community to show the same reaction that they did towards the protesters who were sentenced to death, because we believe that the strong international reaction saved many lives. Iranian authorities, after the protests started, after the murder of Jina Mahsa Amini, they started with mass trials. More than 100 were facing charges punishable by death, and they started executions. But the very strong international reaction raised the political cost of these executions. So that's, we believe, is the reason why they can't or they haven't been executing more protesters. Not that they don't want to. But on the other hand, we see a dramatic increase in the execution of prisoners who are less known, especially those who are sentenced to death for drug-related charges. We see a more than 100% increase in the number of drug-related executions compared to last year, and 10 times increase compared to 2020. I don't think you find any other country that has increased number of executions by 10 times in 2 years. And these drug-related executions, they haven't been met with a single reaction, international reaction. We know that the United Nations Office for Drugs and Crimes, they have projects inside Iran. They are countries, both European and non-European countries, funding UN projects inside Iran, and they haven't shown any reaction to a 10-time increase in number of drug-related executions. These prisoners, who are from the marginalized parts of the society, and about half of them are Baluch citizens, they are the low-cost victims of the Iranian regime's killing machine. I call it killing machine because we don't have an independent judiciary in Iran. The judiciary is part of the repressive organ, repressive system. Prisoners very often do not have access to lawyers. They are sentenced to death based on confessions extracted under torture. So it is a killing machine. The regime uses low-cost victims to spread fear in the society. The aim is not to combat crime, because 43 years experience of executions has shown that crime not only haven't gone down, but they are increasing, both drug-related crimes and violent crimes. But they still continue these executions because the aim is to spread fear in the society to prevent protests. We know that Iranian people, they started the protest. I don't think the regime has managed to control these protests, although we don't see the demonstrations, daily demonstrations in the largest cities. But it's just a question of time when it will explode again. The regime knows it very well, so to prevent it, they will need to create more fear. And death penalty is their most important instrument. So this is the reason why we fear that number of executions will be dramatically increased in 2023 if the international community doesn't react now. Before ending, I would also like to say that the report that we have published, more than 88% of the cases that we have documented in this report haven't been announced by the Iranian authorities. So this report is made thanks to our sources inside Iran, inside the prisons, the families, the lawyers, and activists who basically risk their lives by sending this information to us. We only include cases that are confirmed by 2 independent sources, so the actual number is much higher. 2022 was also the year when public executions came back after a pause of about 2 years because of COVID. Iranian authorities executed 2 people, one of them a protester, in public spaces. Again, I think these 2 years of pause due to COVID gave us an opportunity to make public executions more intolerable for both the society and for the international community. So I hope that the international community will react much stronger next time Iranian regime wants to execute people in public. We are living in 2023. We can't tolerate that people are hanged on the streets in front of children. I would also like to emphasize, as Rafael said, that Iran continues execution of juveniles. Since 1990, more than 75% of all juvenile executions have happened in Iran. Right now, Iran is probably the only country executing juveniles every single year. This cannot be tolerated. In 2023, we cannot tolerate that children are executed. So I think international community can do a lot to reverse this trend. Increasing the political cost is very important, but pushing for change in the law and practice, as they did when it comes to the drug-related executions in 2017. From an average of 400 drug-related executions every year, it dropped to below 30. It was, I would say, the most significant change we have seen in number of executions in the positive direction. But it's been reversed, so we need sustained international pressure. The same with juvenile execution, the same with public executions. And when it comes to The largest group that is executed in Iran, they are sentenced to death for murder. It's called qisas, an eye for an eye. Iranian authority, they put the responsibility of these executions on the families of the murder victims. However, we see that increasing number of families say no to the death penalty. Last year, the number of people, families of murder victims who choose forgiveness or dia, they were 3 times higher than those who choose qisas or death penalty retribution. So qisas is not something Iranian people want. It's something that the regime is insisting on. They say that it is the right of the murder victims' family. This is probably the only of their rights that they insist to respect, because they don't respect any of the other rights people in Iran have. So our call is a stronger focus on the death penalty in Iran. Every execution in Iran is a political execution, regardless of the charges. And international community should react strongly to each and every execution that happens in Iran. Thank you.